Should the knee stomp be banned? I'm making this video because the issue around this technique isn't so black and white. First off, I'm refraining from calling this the oblique kick because the technique that Khalil used that sparked this whole discussion is not an oblique kick. I made a whole video on the origin of the oblique kick that you should check out if you haven't seen it. But basically, I'm just going to refer to these kind of strikes as knee stomps because that's exactly what they're doing. I think it's best to be fair as you can surrounding topics like this because banning techniques that aren't inherently dirty like eye gouging or nut shotting can be a very slippery slope. But on the other side, there is a legitimate issue with damaging fighters' careers in a way that is more significant to a fighter's earning and livelihood than getting knocked unconscious. First off, the stomp that Khalil Roundtree landed was perfect. It was quite literally a perfect strike. The function of a knee stomp is to limit your opponent's mobility, and that was maximized in the best possible way via compromising a fighter's mobility so bad that they stopped the fight. It was timed perfectly. If you want maximum damage results with the stomp, you need to time it when someone's weight is planted forward on their leg. This keeps the leg stationary, planted to the ground, so when a sudden force pushes it in the opposite direction, there's little to resist or bypass that force, and the knee, which is inherently fragile, will be damaged instead of allowing the force to partially go through. A good simple example in real life is to place a thinner plank of wood vertical from the ground, but don't put any weight on it, just hold it up with your finger or something. If you kick it in the middle, what happens? The wood just flies away and the force from the kick passes through it. The plank isn't damaged. But now put your whole body weight on it and kick it in the same spot. Now it breaks because there's nowhere for the wood to go, so it absorbs the entire force of the kick, resulting in the plank receiving damage. It's the same concept with the knee stomp. Khalil stomped his knee while he was putting his weight on his leg to jab Khalil. Like I said, perfectly timed. The issue arises when fighters start advocating for the techniques to be banned. Because, like it or not, there is a real talking point for caution when discussing these kinds of techniques in regards to fighters' longevity and livelihood. There's a reason hits to the knee are banned in sports like hockey, because you can block your opponent without trying to damage a set of fragile ligaments. If you get knocked out in MMA, that's definitely not a good thing for your health, but a month or two of proper rest and you can at least get back in the gym to get back in shape. But with a major knee injury, you're likely going to be out for a year or so this means no way to get back into the gym for months, much less actually compete and earn income. This is a perspective that fighters who want the technique banned are coming from, and I totally understand this. There are ways to attack a fighter's legs and mobility without stomping their knees and potentially causing them to be out of work for most of the year. But the other side of the argument is compelling as well. While knee stomps can be devastating, in most cases they don't result in finishes. I mean, John Jones has thrown a million of these kicks and never stopped a fight with it. Knee stomps can also be defended and countered. So when a technique's finishing and damaging rate is historically low, and it can be defended and countered, it's really hard to get the technique banned without stripping the sport down. Because if you ban knee stomps on the basis that attacking the knee isn't productive for keeping a fighter active in competition, then you will inherently have to address submissions that attack the knee. There is a slight difference as heel hooks and knee bars have to have some sort of series of processes before you can get to the point where you damage someone's knee, and a knee stomp is a sudden singular motion, but the end result is the same. If someone is proficient at knee submissions, you're likely not going to have much time to tap before the damage is already done. So if you take out one thing, you're going to open up the discussion for other techniques to be banned. In the sport of MMA, banning subs and strikes that target the ligaments in the knee will likely water down the sport even further for an issue that rarely results in fighters being finished or severely damaged from the attacks. Because we have 2 decades of evidence of knee stomps rarely resulting in finishes or keeping fighters from competing, and I don't think there's a strong enough argument to ban the techniques outright. It rarely ends in this way, and there are legit ways to defend and counter it. It strips MMA down to an even more watered down product where legit techniques like grounded knee strikes are already banned, and I don't think that's a good move. So what's my final verdict? Don't ban the technique. Knee stomps are brutal and can have devastating consequences, but the worst results rarely happen and they can be defended. And if someone sets one up perfectly like Khalil did, they deserve to be rewarded for it.